If you use AI agents, you might probably know that it's a good idea to give them as much instructions and guidelines as possible. And usually agents like Claude Code or Codex or Cursor, they support specific file format called AGENTS.md or Claude.md or Cursor rules, and you can specify instructions there. While it's a very good idea to have these instructions, you can't put all the knowledge of yourself and of your company into these files, because since these files are usually attached to the context of the model, very soon it will become very huge, and you'll realize that in a lot of cases, most of the context is not needed for specific agent request. For example, you might not need UI guidelines when you want to implement backend APIs, work with database, and vice versa. You don't need database guidelines when you work with UI and layout and how buttons are located on the page, etc. Luckily, there's a thing called skills, which you can add to your agent, and the skill will be loaded just on demand. For example, if you ask agent to do something and it decides to use a skill, or you tell it to use a skill, it will load this context from a specific memory and will use the skill, but otherwise it will not do that. In this video, I want to show you how to use skills with Claude Code and how to find these skills, how to find existing skills, how to write your own skills, and also some examples of very useful skills. For example, how to make Claude Code to generate PDFs or Word documents. So if you are interested, please continue watching. So how to use and create skills. There's a website called AGENTSkills.io, and this website basically makes skills to be a standard among different coding agents, including OpenCode, Cursor, Claude Code, Codex, so most of the popular coding agents. If you go to what are skills, you'll see that a skill is basically a folder which you put inside your projects. It has skill.md file, which has instructions on how your skill should operate. It has name of the skill, it has description of the skill, and also you can add like some scripts. So for example, you can add like Python script to do something. It will not be like part of your project, but it can be used inside the skill if the skill is loaded and if agents decides that it wants to use the script. There can be references, so other documents that agent might read with the skill, and also some assets. So for example, if your skill is your brand guidelines, you might put some logo images into your assets folder, and then when the skill is used, it can look at these brand guidelines and apply them to your project. Skill.md file is a markdown file, as you can guess, which has name and description properties. Based on this description, agent will understand whether to use this skill or not in any particular case. So for example, if the skill is PDF processing, in description you have extract text and tables from PDF files, fill forms, and merge documents, agent will understand that when you ask it to do something about PDF parsing, then it will use this skill. It will load this skill.md file and required scripts and assets. If you don't do anything with PDFs, it will not load the script, so you will not pay money for tokens, and you will not damage context of your agent. Now, let me show you a couple of examples of useful skills, and you can use these examples in your project, or you can just inspire by them and create your own skills in your project and use them. So first is database migration. So this skill basically describes how migrations are done in your object relation mapping in your project. So you can see that it's implemented for 3 different libraries, some migrations, schema transformation. So I think it might be quite useful if you describe how migration process is done in your project. You see that it has resources, and in resources it adds some references, which is again files which can be loaded on demand, so it doesn't load all the files all the time. And it also have a couple of assets, data migration script.py, schema migration template, test migration. So as you can imagine, agent can load these files, it can run scripts, it can follow guidelines from these markdowns, and all of these might happen without damaging your context if you don't work with migrations at the current moment of time. The next skill I wanted to show you is called DocX. It's developed by Anthropic. So this skill teaches Claude Code to generate new documents in DocX format, so Word document. And it can also like modify, edit content, work with changes, add comments, etc. So in this skill, there is not only skill.md file, there's also some scripts, for example, document.py. You can see that this is a Python file which knows how to work with documents. So it has some predefined code to read them, modify them, etc. So let's install this skill in our Claude Code and see how it works. Because this is Anthropic, they have a special like marketplace of skills. And you see that what you can do first, you can add like a plugin of these Anthropic skills. So let's do that. Let's copy this command, go to Claude Code. Okay, now we added Anthropic agent skills. Now you want to go to plugin. You click tab until you reach this marketplaces tab. You see Anthropic agent skills. Now you can see two plugins here. So plugin is kind of a set of skills and other stuff. Let's go with document skills, which includes Excel as well, and I assume other document processing skills. Let's install it in this repo so we can look at it. Okay, now we can see that there's a Claude folder, and in Claude folder there is settings file. In this settings files, we can see that document skills plugin is enabled, which includes all skills made by Anthropic for working with documents. Now let's restart Claude. And let's just ask, what skills do you have? Now you see how many new skills Claude Code now has. For example, it has PDF, it has DocX skill, which we wanted to install. It has also some design skill, some writing skill, development skill. So what I'm going to test is DocX. Let's ask Claude to create some random DocX document with a Fairytale. Create a DocX document with a Fairytale, click run. Now you see that it wants to use skill DocX, and we are happy with that. Now let's allow Claude to read from this DocX folder during this session. You see that it is reading DocX. Now you see that Claude Code created a file called create_fairytale.js, which is basically a JavaScript file that will generate this Fairytale document for us. Let's allow it to do this. Now you see the file in project now. Now it will run this file. Now you can see that it installed this DocX package, which it needed to create DocX files. It executed this create Fairytale.js. It then removed Fairytale.js file. And let's now check the DocX itself. Okay, you can see that there is a Fairytale in DocX file, which is exactly what we wanted. Now you see how useful skills might be. So in skills, you can store instructions on how to do something specific, which you don't need very often, but which is still can be useful. For example, DocX generation, or you can use PDF skill to generate PDFs or spreadsheets. Now, let's say I want to create a custom skill for Claude Code, and I want to share it with all my teammates who work on this project. So in .claude folder, I can create skills folder. Inside .claude folder, I create skills folder. So let's say I want to teach Claude how to make commit messages and do the actual commit. I'll take this example from official Claude documentation. So we can create new file. So we can create new folder called commit helper. And all we need to do here is create a file called SKILL.md. Now in the skill, let's add description and name and all the instructions, which are quite simple. Now we can restart Claude. Now we can type /skills and see available skills. You see there is generate commit messages skill. Now escape and let's try to use it. Commit uncommitted changes, use skill to generate commit message. So we might want to explicitly mention the skill, so we make sure that it uses the skill. Okay, it wants to use skill. Let's allow it to do this. Here we go. Now we can see that it generated commit messages and wants to do the commit itself. Okay, this was all for this video. I will leave links to the mentioned skills in the video description, and also a link to a website where you can find thousands of different skills and just use them in your project. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that was useful, and see you next time.